Okay, good afternoon everyone, and now welcome to next unit, unit 3, and this is in the series of research and publication ethics. This is lecture 8, and here we will talk about what are the best practices in research, what are the publication ethics. Till now we have discussed what is unethical, what is misconduct, what is misrepresentation. So there must be some authority, there must be some organization who will tell us that what is ethical, what is right way of presenting data, right, and what are the best practices. So what we gonna cover first, what are the publication ethics. So we have discussed research ethics, now it's about publication ethics. And then when you send your paper for publication, what are the best practices you need to understand, you need to follow, because you will be sending your paper for publication. And then in lecture 9 we'll talk about conflict of interest with your supervisor, maybe board of study, maybe other stakeholder, maybe respondent who give you information, or maybe a funding agency who is giving you funding. And then publication misconduct, right? So we have discussed ethical misconduct, we have discussed research misconduct. Now we are talking with detail, and here you can see predatory publication also. This is basically a duplicate journals. So now we are moving towards more practical part, where you will see that a lot of organization are there. They will guide us that what are the best practices for all of us. So start with publishing ethics. Publishing ethics is related to the integrity of the publication process rather than the conduct of research. So we have talked about ethics in research, but now we are talking about integrity of the publication process. That when you have completed your research, so end of research will start with publication. Now you are ready with publication. So what you gonna do when you need to talk about publication? So stop research, you have done your research. Now you need to move further, you need to send your paper for publication, and this cover these following issue. First, dual submission. Can you send your paper to two journals simultaneously? Just think about. So whenever you send your paper for publication, they say that you send your paper, but it should not be sent in other place for publication simultaneously at same time. So remember, you cannot have dual submission. You cannot submit your paper for publication at one time in two places or more than two places. Authorship dispute. Who would be first author? Who would be second author? Who would be third author? So this kind of dispute is very common. This kind of dispute is very common in department, in universities, and when we collaborate with others, you need to give permission in writing or take permission in writing that who would be first author, who would be second author. Why we have fight for first and second or third or fourth? Because for all we have API score. You get number, you get marks for that, right? So this kind of disputes are very common. Then bias in peer review. Now when you send your paper for publication, what happens if you know the editor or editor know you? So definitely, I don't know up to what extent they will review your paper. So these are some publishing ethics which we need to consider as a journal also, right? Not only sending a paper. Breaches of confidentiality in peer review. When you are reviewing your paper, you are not supposed to give your name, you are not supposed to give your department or your office address or your email or your mobile number, right? Because they say it's a double blind or blind review, where you cannot disclose your identity. Even the person who is reviewing your article, they cannot, you should not know who is that person who will be review your article, right? So here now we have moved away from research, now we are into publishing ethics. So we have dual submission. You cannot send your paper at one time to more than one publisher, and make sure that there should not be any dispute among authors, who would be first, who would be second, who would be third. Bias in peer review. You should not disclose any confidential information about, editor or maybe reviewer, or when they ask you to send your paper, you're not supposed to give any mark, so that they can identify you who you are. Now we have one organization. Remember, I said you should have some authority who will guide you that when you send your paper for publication, what kind of best practices you need to adopt. So from your examination point of view, remember, there may be a question that what are the best practices for publication, right? So now here you can see we have COPE, Committee on Publication Ethics. So this Committee on Publication Ethics, they have some rules and regulation. You can check their website also. First is a allegation of misconduct. If there is any misconduct regarding publication, there is any allegation, then you can send email to Committee on Publication Ethics, COPE, and they will find out solution. Any problem with authorship and contribution, that who would be first, who would be second, who would be third, if there is any problem, any issue, any fight, send your query, your complaint. And beside that, COPE have given you guidelines that in case of misconduct, in case of dispute about authorship, these are the guidelines you need to follow. And if you have any complaint, any appeal, you can give to COPE. Conflict of interest also, if you have any conflict of interest with your supervisor, with your university, with your institute, whosoever is the person who has who you have any conflict with, you can you have a guidelines by COPE. They will give you some kind of explanation that in this case you need to do this kind of act. Then data and reproducibility, we already have discussed. You cannot produce your own data, you cannot cook your own data. In that case, someone else has copied your data, then where you can find a complaint. So we have Committee on Publication Ethics. So it's not an Indian organization, it's an international organization. Then in case of ethical oversight, someone has uh, break the rules and regulation, or breach the confidentiality, or there is any ethical issue you find with your paper, then you can apply to COPE. They have clear guidelines for intellectual property right also. You came out with some patent, you come out with some idea, some process, and that has got patented, then someone else has violated that rules and regulation or laws, then you can appeal, or you can see what kind of guidelines, what kind of support, what kind of help COPE can extend to you. Then journal management, how you can run a journal, how you will decide that who would be, what should be there on journal website, all information about journal management, right? And then all information about peer review process, what is single blind review, what is double blind review, what is review process, who could be a person who can review everything about this, right? And then post publication discussion, if you have someone want to discuss with you that whatever you have written in your paper, how they can approach you, right? So, or if there are any conflict even after your publication, then COPE will help you, guide you. And let me show you, I believe, the COPE website. I hope I will be showing you, don't worry. So what happens in publication ethics? So we have now one authority which is called COPE. I hope this is clear to all of you. You can check their website also. Now we have been talking about publication ethics. So publication start with when your research is stopped. Now you are sending your paper for publication or your research for publication. So ethics should be followed at each step of the research. So not only in publication, but when you did your research, at that time also ethics were important. And ethics, we have, what is ethics? It's a rules and regulation. Why it's important? Here you can see research ethics means researcher can be held accountable for their action. This is your research. You have conducted this research, so you should be accountable whatever you give, because people trust you, everybody trusts you. You are a teacher, you are a researcher, you are a professor, You gonna do your PhD, and you would be soon doctor. So people trust you, so you cannot break their trust. So that's why ethical publication or ethics in publication is important. So they support important moral and social value as the collaborator are part of the society. So you need to take care of social responsibility, social value, moral values, because you you represent these all moral values. People see you with respect, with value. You cannot break that trust. And here you can see different pillar. First, the author and co-author, the conflict of interest among all the stakeholders. So these are two. Yeah. Oh, it's not there. But here it's showing I am sharing my screen. Are you able to see everybody? Yeah, it's there. It's there, sir. Everyone can see. How many is not able to see? Tell me. You are able to see? You are not able to see my screen, everybody? Visible. Yes, it's visible. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let me continue. I'm sorry, today we are in hurry because I know you have exams. So let me cover it as much as possible. Right. So we have a pillar of publication, that is conflict of interest, author, co-author, and then here you see, when you do your research, it's not that you can do everything. You remember I told you, if someone in English department, you know someone, tell him that you're not good in English, so he or she will help you in edit your PhD work. Similarly, you may not be good in statistics, so find out a right person who knows statistics, SPSS, R, programming, so you can collaborate with them, right? So when you have this collaborate, it would be academic institutions collaboration. You can have your sponsor like ICSSR, they gave you, or JRF in case of UGC, and the participant also, because they give you information. So they all are academic collaborator. You need to respect them, you need to talk to these people, you give them respect, because they are going to play a very very important role in your research. So not only participant, sponsor, or academic institution, your supervisor, co-author, and your institute also, right? So you need to maintain some kind of good repute, good kind of relationship with all these different collaborators. So why ethical issues are important in publication? We already have discussed. Let me put some more light. The in publication, you need to follow the review process, and journal gives some kind of guidelines. That these are the guidelines. Your these many pages, and objective, review of literature, discussion, different things they ask you, and you need to compliance with all. And more than that, your paper will go for review, so you need to compliance with review and journal requirement, right? Second, make sure that you don't have any conflict of interest with anyone. Then you should not be careless. You can't show that, okay, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot this. Oh my God, I used wrongly this method. No, you can't be. See, that's why publication ethics is important in publication. You need to be very, very careful. You cannot be redundant. You cannot send your paper to a journal which is called duplicate journal. Duplicate journal, they look like original, and there may be few journals those who charge a huge amount, and within 24 hours they publish your paper. Yes. um let me see how many, और कितने लोगों को नहीं हो रही है, बताइए जरा. आप देखिए, प्लीज करके देखिए. मेरी फोटो अगर नजर आ रही है तो फिर आनी शुरू हो जाएगी आपको स्क्रीन. मैं दोबारा कर देता हूँ, वेट वेट कीजिए, मैं दोबारा कर देता हूँ, ठीक है, हो सकता है लेट हुआ हो कुछ। मैं पहले इसको दोबारा करता हूँ, ठीक है, अब देखिएगा। अब हो रही है सर, देखिए प्लीज। ठीक 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 ठीक, सॉरी। Okay, so we are talking about why ethical issues are important in publication. So we have talked that journal and uh, they have some requirement when you send your paper for publication, that they accept this kind of paper, right? They say that okay, if you are working in corporate social responsibility, so they will not accept any other paper related to any other topic. They will accept only. Okay, please mute your mic, everybody. Please mute your mic, everybody. So here you see why ethical issues are important in publication, because each and every journal, they have review process and they have their norms, that these kind of things you need to follow. Second thing, when you send your paper for publication, you should not have in conflict of interest. Third, you should not be careless. Oh, I forgot this, I'm sorry, I couldn't represent that, or I didn't give information, table number, this and this. You can't do like this. You cannot send your paper to a journal who will charge a huge amount and will publish your paper within 24 hours, right? And you cannot include a person who has not written anything, who has not contributed at all. So make sure these you need to follow, right? Then why ethics in publication? Because we already have discussed that you are very 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 trustworthy, and people expect a lot of things from you because you are a teacher, you are doing your PhD, you got a high value in the society. So whatever information you will give, people will trust you. So what is your duty? You give authentic information, right? So and beside that, because you are doing your PhD, which is the highest degree, so what should be the expectation from you? Expectation should be that you will give a right answer with justification. You will come out with new idea, you will present a original idea, you will come out with real result, you will come out with a result which may not be acceptable. So people will start criticizing you. When people start criticizing you, what happens? New idea comes. So this is your responsibility. No matter what kind of criticism comes out, you need to give a right information without any hesitation. Now, so first was COPE, COPE, right? Committee for Publication Ethics. Second, now we have ICMJE. They have recommended that authorship be based on following four criteria. So here you have International Journal of Medical Journal Editor. So second authority. So first authority was COPE. The second authority is International Journal of Medical Journal Editor, and they have given four criteria for authorship. Who would be the author? Who can become an author? Here you can see those who contribute substantially in the designing of work, acquisition, analysis, interpretation of data, they can be a co-author, right? Here you can see. So who says this? International Journal of. So this is the second authority. And whosoever is helping you in drafting the work or revising it critically for important intellectual content, they also can be author. Final approval of the version to be published, so you need to take permission from all and then send it for publication. And whosoever agree, because they have contributed, they would be accountable for all aspects of the work. Remember, you cannot say that I just did this, so I'm accountable for not, I'm not accountable for whole paper. No, 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 no. If you are a co-author, you need to be accountable for all aspect of the work in ensuring that questions related to the accuracy or integrity of any part of the work are appropriately investigated and resolved. So now we are moving from theoretical to practical. Now we are understanding, okay, we cannot send our paper to duplicate journal. Before we send it, we need to take permission from all the co-author. And who would be the co-author? Those who contributed in terms of designing of work, acquisition, analysis, and interpretation of data. So if anyone asks you any question, so not only me, but all co-author would be responsible about the accuracy and integrity of the research, right? So now we are moving more about practical, because last 3 units are practical, and we will learn that what is this, what we call impact factor. What is this impact factor? What is H factor? What is I factor? And what is this duplicate journals, how we can identify? So now we are talking about best practices in publication given by COPE, and here who can be author, so according to International Journal of Medical Journal editor. Now let us continue. We are talking about the publication misconduct, but now what are the solutions, what are the best practices? Here you can see, when you send your paper for publication, it should not have any ethical issue, remember. So we have two organizations, COPE for social science and WAME, WAME for medical science, right, or science you can say. So these two organizations, they have given a best practices. They have mentioned a best practices about when you conduct a research, what you need to take care of, and when you send your paper for publication, what guidelines you need to follow, right? So first, here you can see COPE. Remember, one question will come. COPE. What is COP and what are the guidelines they have given? So Committee on Publication Ethics, and let me show you their website. Yes, here you see promoting integrity in scholarly, right? And let me show you a bit more. Here you can see all about core, right? Our core practice. Here you can see this, we were talking about allegation of misconduct, authorship and contributionship, complaint and appeals, conflict of interest, data and producibility, ethical oversight, intellectual property, journal management. This all you can see here. If you want to know anything about them, just click on it. For example, conflict of interest, you will get all guidelines about this, right? Everything, all information, right? Cases, guidelines, flowchart, discussion, everything you're gonna get here, right? So I thought I should show you this. So let us continue. And here you see about the Committee on Publication Ethics. So COPE provide advice to editors and publishers on all aspects of publication ethics, and in particular how to handle cases of research and publication misconduct. It also provides a forum for its members to discuss individual cases. COPE does not investigate individual cases but encourage editor to ensure that cases are investigated by appropriate authorities, usually a research institution or employer. All COPE members are expected to apply COPE principle of publication ethics outlined in the COPE practice. Here also I can show you that already you have seen the, so they give you all possible guidelines about publication in social science. So let me show you, I hope something here. Yeah, these are the core practices you see. Allegation of misconduct, we were talking about authorship and contribution. So things are clear to all of you, right? So let us move further. Now comes to WAME, a word association of medical editors. So WAME is a global non-profit voluntary association of editors of peer review medical journal who seek to foster cooperation and communication among editors, improve editorial standards, promote professionalism in medical editing through education, self-criticism and self-regulation, and encourage research on principle and practice of medical editing. So COPE was about social science. Here you see WAME about medical science. WAME developed policies, recommendation of best practices for medical journal. So COPE was for social science journal, WAME for medical journals editor, and has a syllabus for editor that members are encouraged to follow. So here we have best practices by WAME. First, principle of transparency and best practices in scholarly publishing. WAME has collaborated with Committee on Publishing. So WAME has collaborated with COPE, the Directory of Open Access Journal, and the Open Access Scholarly. So we'll talk about Directory of Open Access Journals. We'll talk about Open Access Scholarly Publisher Association. So we have some principles, and here you can see principles given by WAME. First, each and every journal must have website. Remember, this is the first principle. If you are a good journal, what you need to do. So these are, remember, when you select a journal, how you will select a journal. So this is a best practice is to select a journal. So first, that journal must have website. And what it should give, you can see here, it should not mislead readers, right? Next, it should give aim and scope. Website should give aim and scope. There should be a statement on what a journal will consider for publication, including authorship, right, ISSN number. So these two things are very important on website. Then second, name of journal. Your journal, whichever journal you select, first website, then clearly the name of journal, and this name should be unique. It should not confuse with other journal, right? And here third, what is the process of peer review? If there is no peer review, then that is redundant or this is duplicate publication, right? So here you see peer review process. Journal content must be clearly marked as whether peer reviewed or not. If peer reviewed is defined as obtaining advice on individual manuscript from reviewer expert in the field who are not part of journal editor staff. So this process is very rigorous, very important. So website, journal website should give clear-cut information that they have review process. What is the procedure? In how much time they will take to review your paper, right? So they should not give you a guarantee to accept your paper. It would be based on review of literature. Then ownership and management, information about who is the owner, which institute, which university, which organization, which college, and management team, who is the who is the editor. Everything should give on that. It should not mislead, right? And then governing body, who is governing that journal? Is there any university? Is there any institute? Name of the affiliation university, name of the association. So that you need to check. Then editorial team, their email ID, their contact information, everything must be there with full address. So here we are talking about best practices by WAME. And then very much clear guidelines about copyright and licensing. The policy for copyright shall be clearly stated in the author guidelines and the copyright holder name on all published articles. Likewise, licensing information shall be clearly described in the guidelines on the website, right? Very much clear information should be there. Then author fee. There may be sometime good journal, even good journal, they may charge little bit an amount. So that information, if they charge, generally good journal, they don't charge at all. If they are charging, they should give clear-cut information that there is charges, and should be very nominal, not much. If they are not charging, it should be clearly that no charges are there, right? Then process for identification of and dealing with allegation of research. If someone has sent a paper and that was your paper, that was your idea, and got published in that journal, then what would be the role of that journal? How they will take care of it? So this information, process of identification and dealing with the allegation of research misconduct should be clearly given. And here you see they have taken help of COPE guidelines in case of dealing with the allegation. Then publication ethics, what kind of ethics they follow, what kind of policy they have towards publication ethics. If they have any complaint towards journal policy, journal complaint, journal appeal, journal conflict of interest, right, data sharing, ethical oversight, intellectual property, post publication discussion, all must be clearly mentioned, right? And then publishing schedule, whether they publish it annually, quarterly, twice in a year, that monthly, that should be clearly given. And it should have accessibility, right? uh, what is the subscription rate? I mean, do we need to pay, or it's a open access? So we'll talk about in next sessions that what is this open access, right? That is online, you can see that paper or not. Then archiving. See, you send your paper for publication, that journal put this information and block information, in the sense that nobody can read it. If you want to read it, you need to pay. So this was your paper, so you can take a permission to put this article on college or university website so that anyone can see your paper. What you want, what is your objective of sending paper, to send it for publication that everybody can read it. But journal have a policy that they charge for your paper once they publish it. So whosoever want to read your paper, they charge from them, and that would be kind of subscription. So they should have clear cut policy that if you want to put this information, this paper on your college or university website, will they permit it? So that would be archiving. And then revenue resources, that is business model or revenue sources. What about author fees, subscription, advertising, print, all information they give if you want to send advertisement, right? So they mention all this information. So today we have discussed a very important thing. Two main organization, one is for social science COPE, another for science, which is WAME. So this was a third unit, and we'll talk about third unit few more thing, and most probably tomorrow we'll complete the third unit. So thank you very much for joining today, and we have discussed a lot today. And